And we are recording. I'm going to set up a backup recording as well. So it's not just me. Actually,
All right. Great. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Meeting of the Italian Village Commission, September 9th, 4 p.m. Our next business meeting will be Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, 12 p.m. in this room. Next month's hearing should be next door on October 14th at 4 p.m.
if not, it may be in the garage, but sorry.
All right, let's swear in staff. Do you swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability this evening?
Thank you.
Great.
My name's Morgan.
Introduction of commissioners present. We'll start with
Jordan Smith.
Shannon Salvador.
Carla Trout.
Paige Kaplansky. Do we have a public forum?
No public forum. Or yeah, no public forum.
Okay. Do you want to speak?
Sure, Jason Sudi.
All right. Let's do it. Set up. All right. Approval of staff approvals. These start on, well, I can't see the page number, page 4. 9, let me know if you have any abstention. 962 North 6th Street. 68 East 2nd Avenue. 86 Warren Street. 90 East Lincoln Street. And that's it.
There's also 138. So
Okay, what is it?
138 on the field list.
Anyone on that one?
130 Somerville Place.
Yeah. Any extension?
Are you staying?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're staying.
With no abstention, so I have a motion to approve these staff approvals.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Take it over.
Sure. Okay. Staff, do we have anything else we need to know before we dive into the applications?
Yes, the approval.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I see. They snuck it in there, right? Turn it over. So
Yeah.
can I have a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes from last month?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions. Okay, motion carried. That's for August 12th, 2025. All right, staff, do we have anything else before we get into applications?
So we need to move forward. But do we need to get the materials? First up.
No problem. So this first one is 1160 North High Street. Do we have an applicant for 1160 North High Street?
Fine.
Okay, perfect. If you want to, what's the best spot?
Yeah, just here. We'll be at this table.
Right up here. And this is COA 2500869. I've noticed there's a lot of construction in the adjacent room, which is why we're in a less ideal sense.
Cool. Nice to meet all you. I'm BJ, business development director.
Before you even say that, you're gonna have to be a little more formal and you're gonna have to raise your right hand, state your full name for the record.
Conrado Augustine Martin Jr.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Excellent, perfect. Now, nice to meet you. Excellent. So we'll have staff just give us a little background and then we'll bring it over to you to tell us what's going on.
Some tech issues with this room. Thank you. Okay, yeah, sorry.
All right, staff, what do you have for us?
All right. So this is 1160 North High Street. This is installation of LGBTQ plus Ohio historic marker on the corner of East 4th Avenue and North High Street for submitting site plan. Historical marker will be maintained by Stonewall Columbus. At the September business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements, recommendations. Commissioners recommended that the post to be painted black to match the color of the existing stone wall storefront. And asked applicant to clarify the proposed 7-foot 11-inch height of the signage is the standard for overall height for Ohio historical markers, or the possibly lower. Applicant responded stating that they will paint post black to match. And the 7-foot 11-inch height is not a requirement, but the pole is able to be lowered by digging deeper in the ground. Adjustments can be made based on feedback provided by the commission. We recommend to approve application, COA 2500869, as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to staff review approval. Prior to issuance of certificate with the following conditions: for the signpost to be painted black and to lower signage at an appropriate height decided by the commission. Basis of staff recommendation and short or design guidelines, pages 3.37 to 3.41.
Okay, sounds great. Over to you. What other thoughts do you have to share with us?
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for Stonewall Columbus. This is the 4th LGBTQ historical marker in the state of Ohio. We're actually the last participants that were able to receive the grant before the funding got cut. So pretty exciting. We're expanding that area, and it's also, of course, the historical legacy of Stonewall Columbus since 1981. It will be placed right in the front there, as you can see, with the white square. And then we also have the approval of the pride circles that will be all installed before October 3rd. That will then go down 4th Street. But for the historical marker, we already have it in our building. It's just about painting the pole and cutting it for digging it deeper.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have a sense up here what height is appropriate for that?
Thought there was a standard for those. So, and they'll probably, I would guess you're working with whatever commission.
Not to my knowledge currently, no. I think from our email was based on your guys' guidelines or whatever you feel like is appropriate, we would make sure it happens.
I was gonna say 60 into the middle of the sign, so.
Yeah.
That sounds right. So that it's eye height.
So the
Yeah.
center of the like
Person.
red back would be 5 feet essentially.
Yeah, so do you want the top of the sign itself should be at the 5 feet mark? Is that how you're saying?
Yeah, I would say the center of
The center of it. Okay, yeah, perfectly.
That's a pretty good dead center.
Right, yeah. The same.
Yeah.
Short people aren't going like that.
Right, totally.
7 foot long is pretty tall. Okay, so any other, so you're willing to do that and paint the pole. Any other questions you have for us?
No, all of it should be done by October 3rd.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
you
you.
and Kevin. That's wonderful. And I just, when you look at this image and you look at all that mulch in front.
Yeah.
It's this amazing sign that you're putting up, and I think that would be so much better. And maybe this isn't even indicative of what you're thinking about planting, but if the whole thing was just had plants all the way around instead of showing mulch, would look, just really dress it up. If you wanted to allow people to get right up to it, and see, maybe put a big, like 18 by 18-inch stone or something right in front of it.
Totally. And
Yeah.
from that picture too, we already did beautification. So we took out all of the weeds and such. It's all black mulch now. And then for spring, we have a beautification project that we're going to be running lavender across the entire front of the
Nice.
building. So we'll do about that too.
Well, I guess my one comment is lavender should probably be planted now.
I don't know. Maybe it's about plants. I'm in a budget season.
And I'm gonna let somebody else make that decision, but the other thing you might want to think about is lavender is a perennial, but it's gonna go away.
Yeah.
In the winter, I love lavender.
Yeah. I'm trying to think with like the lavender weddings, lavender listings.
Russian-
all legacy
Russian
issues.
sage, much easier, and
Yeah.
the same color of beautiful purple color.
Yeah.
But I would think about just having something that's going to be evergreen,
Yeah, for sure.
in there too.
Absolutely.
I move to approve application. Really hard.
You better go back.
I have to go back. Hold on.
Just say two, if you want.
Yeah,
COA 2500869.
with the condition that the pole will be painted black and the middle of the sign will be at 16 inches.
Ground.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained, abstentions? Okay, thanks a lot. Yep,
Thank you.
Seeing. Okay, moving to continued applications, 246 East Second Avenue. This is COA 2500793. Would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Kathleen McLean.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony and the best of your ability to say.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let staff and we'll be right back to you.
So this is for exterior building alterations. This is to remove existing damaged stoop portico and replace with appropriate wooden stoop portico to match existing. Dimensions to be 40 inches wide, through to 18 inches. Replace damaged siding on the east and north elevations with southern yellow pine with improved siding to match existing. Replace trim with bold smooth trim for submitted documentation. And replace rear door with half light, 2-panel fiberglass door for submitted documentation. Repaint siding and trim, paint siding to be bare inked, and trim combination of silent white and pine brook. Repaint existing fence, with PPG Knights armor as well. For staff analysis, the following is taken from the July 2025 meeting minutes with the commissioners like make sure to read those minutes off for this application as required.
Some information from the previous meeting. I think so.
All right, and I will go to, this was continued last month just due to accidents. And then September business meeting, commissioners for the following feedback. Commissioners asked applicant to supply a more detailed drawing. The proposed built awning, this should include a side elevation drawing of the awning to show the connection between the awning and the building. Commissioners still have concern with the combination of the connection points between proposed new wood siding and boardal. And they request applicant provide a detailed drawing on how the materials will meet up on the horizontal, thing of the building.
Yes, that's I think it's the more detailed view.
Yeah, this was submitted for last.
Yep.
Yeah. So staff recommends approval of application as submitted with the following conditions. The boral trim being used in conjunction with wood siding is approved by the commission as a test case. Shingles for the stoop portico are to be selected from the approved shingles list and submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance. Basis of staff recommendation, I'm so sorry. 3116, city code, as well as the county village guidelines, porches and body of the house will sign it or appropriate about right for time.
Excellent, thanks. Over to you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add as long as, there's a seen the submitted, kind of documentation approved.
Okay, we'll go down and we'll see what everybody has to say. The one thing I did want to note is that at the previous meeting, the way we got to this idea of having a boral combination, deciding really, you and your, I guess, contract. Yeah, so it's probably a really compelling case to get us to kind of try that out.
Okay.
So we didn't just kind of jump onto it without having some good basis. And also, I think that it is an opportunity for us to contemplate a little further when we're in these situations of replacing sort of siding versus better ways to approach it. So with that, what do we have to say? Anybody want to jump in, Stefan?
I can start. I think I was the meanie that asked for a more detailed, construction detail of the porch, and I saw you guys took a stab at it.
Yeah.
Right? But this is what we're looking for.
Okay.
We're looking for something that is a drawing that an architect and maybe an engineer have approved the way that the connections
Okay.
of the awning. Like here, there's a ledger that's attached to the house and there's
Okay.
certain things that happen with these posts that are holding it up.
Yeah.
Just the whole section through it and then an elevation of what it looks like. So
Okay.
I'm fine with this as long as, if we could send it to staff and they could work with you on that detail. Is that okay, Morgan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it has to, make sure that it meets all the requirements.
Sure.
For construction.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I do want to get it done as soon as possible because I think we shared in previous, like it's starting to fall off. So
Mhm.
Yeah, sure.
I think another option that we had talked about before was just like not doing it and I just replacing the siding and removing it because of the urgency that it needs to kind of come off the building or else I'm afraid it will do more damage than
I mean, we'd have to come back again, but that's an option, but you might,
might be
do
quicker.
we have a list of people that we can give? Like to do a, little design or
We do not have a list of recommended. It's just to get a issue,
Okay.
but we can provide examples.
Okay, yeah, if I can get that example, I
I
can
think
try.
which would be nice, just you at the door,
Yeah.
opening it, getting snow and rain.
Yeah,
And some shade too.
Okay, any other comments, thoughts?
I was just gonna say, about the siding.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it at the business meeting, but just wanting to, I forget the manufacturer of the new siding.
Yeah.
But, just maybe, even if you could like talk to some, like a sales rep there about how that it's, kind of gonna be adjoining to some wood siding
okay,
and like some, appropriate like spacing or, a column that needs to go between that to allow some of that movement. It just might help you in the long run to get their guidance
sure,
as far as, that material abutting something that's, not normally designed to go right next to it.
sure,
So it might help in the long run, with issues or anything,
okay.
but, yeah, since this is a, kind of a test to see how the materials will handle it next to each other.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Any thoughts? Okay, you care to make a motion with the staff, suggested condition?
And before we continue with the second, I will say, based off of Commissioner Clancy's statement, we can also request a detailed drawing of that too, from the sales rep. If the Commissioner felt that that was necessary for the 2 months.
I guess I don't know if a drawing, but maybe,
I think an explanation.
yeah, like a appearance requirement or like, yeah, that could be helpful from.
All right.
What was the other?
The other one was.
Yes, Pringles goes to work going to be stuff from you for
Yep.
Pringles list, which can be, which from our end, staff.
And then do we need to put in a motion that this is kind of considered a test case with those materials?
Yeah.
So
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
all right, you're good with all those?
Sure, okay. Tell me if I was. So motion approved COA 25-00793, the conditions that fishing holes used for the awning will be, pulled from the approved list. That's a, more detailed drawing about how the, awning will be attached to the existing home. We worked through with staff and that, discussion with, the manufacturer of the new siding, to gauge the clearance requirements, next to the existing wood siding, will be, had in kind of, copied with that, or sent to staff.
All right, do you have a second?
I just wanted to add that it's also that it's the design of the porch itself and in total. If there's columns, all of those kind of things we need to see.
Oh, so it would be the side elevation as, Commissioner Pratt did show as example, also the front as well.
In a section. But I trust you, whatever you say.
And I don't know if but it is on the back of the house, so you can kind of see it there. It's like, it's not the front porch at all, it's the back. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but
So the staff will definitely send examples. Okay.
What you need.
what,
That'll make it much easier.
what
They give
is?
you examples.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Do you have what you need staff in that motion?
Yes. I just thought we need to get a picture of one of them.
Do I have a second? Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions. Okay, motion carries. Thanks a lot. Good luck and you'll work with staff and you'll be perfect.
Thank you.
All right, 85 East Fifth Avenue. COA 25000788. All right, once you get settled in, we'll get you to speak your names.
Sorry.
It's all right, it's uncomfortable room. Apologize for that. Okay, if you both raise your right hand and state your name for the record,
Robin Keyfaber. Brenda Parker.
and you both promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability to staff.
I do.
Excellent. Okay, so staff and then nominee.
Roadwork description is removing existing wood steps. Construct new 6-foot by 1.5 inch by 13-foot 5.5 inch porch on the corner of home. That's fine. We're discussing. Porch materials to be cedar 2x6 decking stained, Tuscan cedar plinth above brick guardrail height with brown Tuscan wood column. Porch guardrail 36 inches in height and 4x4 cedar post. 1.5-inch balusters and top slip bottom cap and bottom rail. Porch ceiling to be following a bead board ceiling. 2-inch continuous linear soffit bench. Gutter to be aluminum OG and foundation north facing side to be rough cut limestone, west to be hardy panel with 4x4 pipe trim. According to the 1901, 1921, 22 Sanborn maps. I do apologize, I do not have my tech person who's smoking. So,
You're doing it all.
A one-story porch existed on the front northwest corner of the property. It appears that prior to 1990, the porch was rebuilt and expanded to the north and east over the north-facing bay window. Prior to 1990, the porch experienced fire damage and was approved in 1990 to be rebuilt to match the expanded porch per documented photos. In 1993, the porch was fully removed, with a proposal being submitted in 1995 for the front elevation to just include landscaping with precast concrete steps. Staff did not locate approval for the landscaping and steps, but located approval from 1998 for the porch to be rebuilt, which was not completed at that time. At the September business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners agreed with HPO staff recommendations for applicant to revise flooring material to be toned and grooved instead of proposed decking material, as well as provide product specification of proposed limestone for porch foundation. Commissioners asked applicant to clarify the color palette of the porch and asked applicant to verify information about the walkway, if it's the existing paper walkway, or if that material changed. Staff recommendation is to approve application COA 25-00788. With clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate with the following conditions. For the floor to be tongue and groove, applicant to submit final light fixture spec to HPO staff for final review and approval. And I will make a quick change, I just noted this now, and to remove the soffit vents. We do not allow for soffit vents on our eaves of our apartments.
How do you meet code? How do people meet code for the ventilation in the attic?
For the attic, it's typically through ridge venting and things like that.
We can't do a hat vent on top of the
Well,
roof.
this can be a conversation between the commission, but
Okay.
that's typically for guidelines, that we do not allow. So,
Okay.
So there's the venting and things like that. So that can be a conversation. And real quick, I'm so sorry. And then basic recommendation is standards 31-16-11 standards for alteration and standards for new construction, as well as the tiny village guidelines porch is page 72. That's all for me.
Sounds good. It's a application, so many different things from all the years, like a trip down memory lane, all these different addresses, application styles. Okay, over to you to explain what it is you'd like to do.
It appears we're kind of, I think, replicating the original porch, which aligned with the front two-story bay, just based on kind of looking at those footprints. So just trying to keep a super simple, elegant design, isn't too overpowering for the house. It just kind of complements the house. Pretty simple.
All right, let's go down the line and see what people think and we'll figure out where we are. So, who do you want to start? Oh, sorry.
Question, so then how is the soffit right now part of this application? How is the porch soffit? Oh, it's porch soffit.
Yeah, so if you scroll, like, see right up by the beam, I have a little, linear vent tucked in there. That's what I've been doing in German Village. But I can probably change it to a fascia vent, so it'd be like behind the fascia board, so you wouldn't be able to see it, and then I can just run trim.
Right, sorry.
That's it. Did you want to jump in and start with, go right down the line?
Sure, just want to say thanks for the, Rachel, it's very helpful for us as we're reviewing everything. I think that everything, looks appropriate. I was too wondering about how to solve the, fencing issue. But, I think as long, I mean, what you have now is tucked behind the fascia board, isn't it? Kurt?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's right here,
Yeah,
right there.
so you were saying, well, would the secondary option be?
So you can do, there's like a, kind of like a filter fabric material you can do behind the fascia board. So it just kind of be like a black 1/2 inch line between the soffit and that fascia board. So it just allows a little bit of air. Otherwise, there is gonna get condensation happening if we don't allow some air to be able to escape that cavity.
Okay. And Carla, do you have any other options? Besides the fencing?
And you feel that that's enough, just the one then behind the fascia?
Yeah,
Okay. I think if you're comfortable with that, I am. I just, am reiterating what Paige said. These drawings are so incredibly clear. Thank you. I think they look as good as what I would have done.
I imagine that's a very good compliment.
Yeah.
So nothing other than that. It's really nicely done, nicely considered.
Jane,
And then that.
Oh, I have actually one question. The second story on the like bay window, is that being replaced? Or is that something we've already, is that a previous application? Like how
Previous application
Okay.
in the windows,
Gotcha.
where
And
everything.
we had to make it smaller to align with the
right?
bottom plate.
It was
We
ringing
did
a
that.
bell, but I couldn't
Yeah,
remember.
and we did
Thank
that.
you. Okay.
all right, so, could I have a motion?
So I move that we approve. This is always the hard part. We have to get back to all these numbers. Which one is it? 3. Okay. COA 2500788, with no revisions or stipulations. Is that-
Staff did to have or flooring between group. I would say to most of the drawing that does say that in the site plan, but the material.
Yeah, I think on the, I didn't get it. Yeah, the plan shows tongue and groove for, and then, so we can go with that.
Oh.
And I'll update the
And
other.
those are,
Carl always missed that term.
I was gonna say, those are.
So I couldn't criticize.
Those are recommendations just for to improve, and then for the final, final light fixture spec, just to be sanitation for staff.
And no soft vent.
Yeah, and the revision to the soffit, that, that's just like.
All right, so you accept all those?
Yes.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, great, congrats.
Thank you.
Looks like it's gonna be really cool. All right, next one is 810 North High Street.
Go see if we.
I think it's-
I'll go grab it. Yeah, they're called over there.
Doesn't. I'm just trying to get, she's not basically.
Right. Should get settled. You're gonna raise your right hand, state your name for the record.
Colin Brakeman, then I signed.
And do you promise to tell the truth in your testimony, the best of your ability, something?
I did.
Excellent. So staff and then over to you. So who or staff?
Materials on this one. To my staff report. real quick. For 810 North High Street, this is to install a 15 by 5 square foot bow LED neon on the west side of building. Sign to be sign cabinet to be fabricated aluminum that will pin black. LED bow neon lettering to be PMS 7.07 gold. Letters to be illuminated with internal white LED modules. And support brackets to be 3-inch by 3-inch by 1/4 inch, wall aluminum tube welded to a 8-inch by inch aluminum plate, being painted black as well. The building was constructed in 2018. The Mandrake Restaurant currently has a wall sign mounted on the north side of the building within the designated sign band, as can be seen. For the other signage located on the building, sign was installed in 2021. At September business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. HPO staff requested applicant to submit current photos of the property along with photos of the adjacent business signage within the same building for context, which the applicant has. Commissioners noted that the size of the sign is larger than the max size requirement for blade signs, which is currently 12 square feet. They requested applicant to clarify the reasoning for the 8-inch thickness of the signage, and it would be possible to make the sign thinner. Applicant has revised it to be 6 inches. And they asked if it was possible to run the electrical from the interior in lieu of proposed exterior conduit. If only able to run on the exterior, it would need to be painted to match the brick to blend in better. They understand the sign is over the max signage requirement and are seeking approval for the proposed size. For the electrical, there's concrete block behind the proposed sign area, and they do not have access to wiring in this location. They can paint the conduit a color that matches the brick the best they can if approved for this location. Staff note, proposed signage does not meet short north design guideline sizing standards for blade signs. It is being proposed outside of the current designed designated sign ban that is located on the building. Staff would like to request additional information on if this is a change of location for the signage. Will the wall sign be removed, or is this just a second sign for the restaurant? And staff recommends to continue application to allow applicant time to revise signage design and location, or to approve application, estimate with clarifications, with the following conditions. For sign to be reduced to 12 square feet per short box design guidelines, blade sign max size requirements, and install within the designated sign ban. Basis of staff bracket short box design guidelines signage, page 3.37 to 3.41.
Okay, over to you.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just working with Mandrake. Basically, they got a sign on Hubbard on the north side of the building. Can really only see that sign when you're at the stoplight there at Hubbard and High going south. No visibility going north whatsoever. So yeah, basically that existing wall sign is going to stay. They just want exposure and visibility on High Street. So our proposed solution is the double-faced illuminated projecting sign. We're using faux LED neon to attempt to keep it within the guidelines of you guys liking neon graphics. There's actually, they have a sign inside there of the exact same faux LED neon that we're going to be using on this sign. It's right above the elevator. So if you guys were ever there, that's what it looks like. We also have done signs in the restaurant as well. That is the exact same material as that. They have a circle sign on their patio and then one inside as well. So yeah, their biggest thing was just trying to draw more attention off High Street. And even when you are going south on High, there's just very limited amount of time that you can look to your left and see their sign. Realistically, you can probably only see it when you're at the stop sign safely or at the stoplight. And then, yeah, they just have a big concrete pad pillar right behind that sign area, and they even have brick veneer on the inside for Moxie. So the photo actually on that drawing is where the proposed tower would be, which we would run it up the wall and kind of hide it the best we can underneath the overhang with conduit. And then, yeah, obviously we can paint it out to match the brick best of our ability, but there really is no access behind that sign area that we can pull power to unless we wrap it around that side of the facade there.
So you're saying this is the only location where you can supply the electricity to it?
For that location, correct. That'd be the most, we met with the building owner and all Crawford Hoyne, we met with their maintenance team, and that's like the only really sufficient area, the closest area on the building that we could pull access through. We also looked at a corner mount sign on the corner of the building, but that, because of that facade protruding out, I mean, there's just no good visibility, and that's what they're really trying to hit is visibility on High Street. And if you put it on the corner, you corner mount it, half of the signs it's like facing Hubbard still, and the other half is blocked by that facade that sticks out where the sign's going. So realistically, that was our recommendation on where to put it if we did get approval, is just to put it on the front facade there for the best visibility.
I'd like to jump in and start this.
I'll jump in. We spent, I mean, too much time on signage for this building
Okay.
when we initially did this and we ended on this signage ban. Which it looks like, WeWork is potentially taking the place we'd rather be, from a signage positioning. So two things, I mean, one, I think slapping a sign on the building, the most kind of prominent place you can find is not gonna be a solution for us on this, just because it was a ridiculous amount of time that was actually unnecessary. And I think revisiting that is potentially not something this commissioner is interested in. This would also open up just the floodgates for everyone to just start putting really large signs on the front of their building for properties that they feel, don't have signage, that is accessible by an automobile. If you look at this right here, is a really great view of the building as a whole. That's a big sign to put on the top, and it's frankly getting blocked by trees half the time. So I just really think you all need to consider. I'm not saying you can't have a high street front facing sign, although I question having all the tenants in this building each having two signs on this building is really excessive and feels where we're heading. But use the sign ban. And definitely not doing something oversized above our guidelines and above our height guidelines from a pedestrian standpoint as well. So sorry, I have strong feelings on this, but it's just looking.
Oh, good. Think my company did the sign ban. I wasn't a part of it, though, so I'm sorry about that.
Can you show us the sign ban, just because I wasn't here?
So it's this metallic thing. So right now, town hall already has, we approved town hall to have a protruding sign outside of the sign ban.
Right there.
Which is really supposed to be the only protruding sign. I think there's also like two Moxie signs on the building now, one in the front and one on the side.
Yeah.
So there's the WeWork sign, we're getting really oversigned for this building only having really technically two or three tenants. I mean, the restaurant, we were told Mandrake and the restaurant would share signage. That was kind of like the deal, because you all are technically one establishment.
Do you have other thoughts?
Well, I mean, I am sympathetic that it's hard to get visibility for this, but when I first saw the proposal from Day Night and it had that big sign up there so high that I can imagine this fits the guidelines. And I just wonder if there is a much smaller version that would become more like a blade sign. I'm looking for one of these. I think it was Town Hall had a small projecting sign, but I can't say that I understand this in the same way that Shannon does, and have been through this process and know about how many signs are up there. So I'm deferring to her on this. But I was just wondering if there was a much smaller version of what you're doing that could come way down. It's gonna be covered by the trees from time to time, no matter what. They don't look like they're thriving in that fold, but they are there.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to my client about it. There may be some material specifications on this for the graphic settings. I'm not too familiar with it. But there may be limitations on the certain size of the letters. As far as the size goes.
Let's just get through all the comments.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, could you scroll down to the image that you're attached, that one? Yeah, that little town hall, blade sign, I wonder if on the opposite end of the building, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like sometimes those have like an arrow kind of like come this way to turn the corner. Something like that could help and still be in that sign band, but then on the opposite end, closer towards your entrance might be an option for you.
Yeah, so a couple of things, and I missed a visit meeting, so I'm seeing this just today when I looked at this earlier, and I think one of the challenges is that when And obviously, we knew that there was gonna be rooftop stuff when this building got built. When we did the short life design guideline and signage, it was sort of pre-rooftop world. And I'm just trying to think of a way that we can kind of effectively integrate something into the way we approach signage that acknowledges that there are businesses that don't really have much of a ground story presence that are still actively happening. I'm not sure what that answer is. I think that's a bit of the challenge that we're facing right now. I think that the wall sign signage, I don't think it, or I'm sorry, the projecting sign signage, it doesn't always have to be limited, in my opinion, to this street level pedestrian. If it's a different kind of business. On the other hand, there has to be a really compelling reason why we've done that. So just for context, on the building next door, which still, I think, ended up being a little larger than some people liked, that is basically the, quote unquote, the name of the building. Now, I think that's gotten out of hand, like half the places in Columbus now have a giant projecting sign at the end of the building, even if it's like a two-story building, but that's another story. So that's kind of like the name of the building. And then across the street at the Hubbard Grill, that was a historic sign that already existed. That was on that building. And then fireproof, it used to be called fireproof, but now it's not even called fireproof, but it still has to remain a fireproof sign because that's the historic sign of the building. So the way the hub got done was that they were essentially labeling that in homage to those other things. Now, whether or not that people like it or don't like it, that was at least the philosophy. So one of the difficulties that which Shannon's pointing out is how many of these individual large scale wall mounted signs would we allow based on different tenancy? And that's when it gets some squishy. There was one down the street for an advertising company that convinced the board at the time that it was more of an art piece because it had very little area of signage in a large, cool, or ugly, depending on your opinion, projecting shape that kind of wrapped the building. So the decision at that point was that it really felt like an art piece that had signage in it. This one definitely feels like a sign. It's an artistically done sign, but it's really just a sign. So I think that the challenge we're having is exactly what Shannon's pointing out, that it's hard to say no to other people who want to have this size sign for an individual business projecting from an upper story if we say yes to this.
Yeah.
And that's really the difficulty. It's not that I don't dislike your sign. I think it could be successful. And I am sympathetic to the rooftop business that doesn't have a street front presence. I'm not sure what the answer is. The one thing I will say is having that on the side, I don't think it's functional. I think it's a bad sign, the location for where it is. And also, for me, I would be interested if there was an option, not to like throw away something that's functioning perfectly good, but since that sign's not really functioning that well anyway, is there a way to maybe alter or downsize that sign to sort of make up the difference for putting another whole sign on the building, if that makes any sense? Because that one, you're right. I mean, until you're standing on that corner walking down the street, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
sure.
pulled back, behind a tree, half the time behind a truck. So it's a tough spot, which we totally acknowledge. So those are my thoughts. I don't know if that springs anything to mind as we're discussing.
So I guess with the size of the sign, we're talking about the size, it's over the guidelines, but it is only 15, it's a little over 15 square feet. It's
So
just
it's not too much.
Is the main issue the height of the sign, when we're talking about the size of it? The height of it?
The height, the size, and the location,
Okay.
like, pull it down, do what town hall did, like, just
Yeah,
do that blade sign, do the
Okay.
exact same blade sign, but with, I don't know, but,
yeah,
just stay within that pedestrian scale and stay within something that's defensible
Yeah.
for us, right? Like,
right.
we
So,
we can't make this, we
And-
can't do this.
and this is something for my designers to probably figure out, but like, if we did it, what do we have at 20 inches right now? Like if we went down to 16 inches, let's say, whatever the scale height is for that, the 12 feet, I mean, that's still gonna be a pretty significantly tall sign with that.
And you'll still, then you meet the guidelines,
Okay,
as far as the size.
okay.
Yeah, if you meet the size and you put it in a height that is within previous approvals, then, there's not a lot we can say to say. you
Okay.
can't Do that, as long as it meets the overall criteria of the science package.
So drop it down, put it in the sign band area. Is that just for the mounting brackets to be there? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you're gonna have better electric access in the
Yeah.
band
For
area.
sure.
Cause like, that electric, that was not, you know.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're in. And I don't know, just me spitballing here, it's like a second option. A wall sign on that side in that existing sign band location, would that,
I think you're allowed to do that, because I think you're allowed to have one on each side, that's, they just work the staff and figure out what the.
okay, so maybe something there. Okay.
Yeah, so we can look at the past approval package for that sign ban, just to get more information on that.
Yeah.
We should know this, but, we can look at that.
Well, you wouldn't know, because the whole point of this was been that like, the whole point of the sign ban is that like, you didn't realize it was a sign ban until you realized all the signs were on the sign ban.
Yeah, which is fine, except when you get around the corner and then you can't see it anymore because you're down Hubbard. Yes, so, does that make sense? Does that give you enough to chew on?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to my clients, see what they want to do about it. So just to make sure I'm clear, move it down, make it within the side guidelines, install it in the sign band for the mounting brackets,
Yeah, if possible, that would
if
be.
possible.
Yeah, certainly if you can find a place that have internal access to power, that's definitely a plus.
And then the other option is maybe another wall sign.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, and again, we're sympathetic to the fact that signage isn't functional where it is now. We just want to make sure it's good for a future precedent setting.
Gotcha.
That's it?
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, we appreciate it. So can I have a motion to continue for the next regular meeting?
You should continue application
Here it is.
COA 2500881.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor for continuing? Aye, and opposed, and abstentions. All right, great, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Should I
Yes.
need to ask this before we start?
Just quick minute, couple minute break, everybody jump in the restroom, whatever you need to do, and then we'll be,
I'm abstaining.
this will be 10:22 Summit. So whomever is here for that. It's, I don't know how it looks, like you can see a lot of stuff, a lot of them going out.
Is there, I just was running here saying,
Yeah, it's like ladders and piles of stuff. Everywhere.
maybe not next week. That, those are that,
I don't know. Yeah, we, it looks.
there's some more like audio visual stuff.
Looks highly in progress, so. Chance abstains, I think we can go whenever you're ready, just tell us.
Ready to go, Commissioners.
Sounds good. This will be COA 2500-905-1022 Summit Street, and if you could raise your right hand and state the name for the record.
Garrett Talmadge.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony, the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
Excellent, okay. Board staff, right back to you.
So this is for exterior building alteration, removal of one existing awning over outdoor patio, installation of outdoor dining sales over outdoor patio. And a removal of 2 Italian Village Market wall signs from the north and west elevation. Install new 11-foot by 17-inch painted sign to say Mescla on north elevation. This work has already been done, so applicant reached out in March for a sign that was installed prior to approval. Sign is currently painted within the same location where the Market Italian Village sign was located. At the September business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners recommended applicant remove the light brackets on the elevation facing Summit Street and patch the existing siding. Staff note, at the business meeting, commissioners asked staff to see if the speakers that had been installed on the north elevation were previously approved. We could not locate a COA for those speakers, but they appear to have been installed since 2015. Staff would like to request if the speakers were still in use at this time. And recommendations to approve application. COA 25-00905, as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to HPA staff review and approval with the following conditions. Is to remove the light bracket on west elevation, the removed areas be patched and refinished to match existing siding, and to remove non-compliant speakers on north elevation, basis for staff work and short order design guidelines, commercial patios and outdoor dining, page 3.13 and 3.14. As well as for design guideline signage, page 3.37 and 3.41.
Just real quick, where is this light bracket thing?
Right,
It's above all.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay,
there was another signage there.
okay. Okay, gotcha. All right, over to you.
Yeah, Mess the restaurant, no, you guys gone by and seen it. Oh, what is your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine, it's work.
You were Morgan,
Yeah,
okay.
it was on.
Yeah, I emailed Morgan. I did not send my application back in whatever time that was, maybe January, February, something like this. But everything is within the same similar parameters as before with the signage, except for we didn't do, there was 2 signs, there was 2 signs, we went down to 1.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's all right. Wait, only on the one side because you can see it from all corners of the building. There wasn't a light bracket. The existing light over there is the same light that was there. The only thing I have to say about the light bracket on the other side is, yeah, we could try to find some siding, or it would just be, it's just wood siding to put up there. You'd have to replace a bit. It's really unobtrusive, and all it is electrical access at those points. And then as far as the speakers go, which was not on my letter that I received about these things, is those have been up for way longer than I have had any part to do with the building. 2015, apparently, that's when the Market Italian Village originally opened. I have no idea about if they had in their plans for those speakers or not. I do use them actively. I don't think they're obtrusive or I don't play music loudly. We try to keep the corner very nice, clean, and well respected. And as far as that goes, that's all I have. The awning, however, was taken down because of the kind of sunshades that were put up. And my plan is, if that is all right with you guys, to put the awning back up during the winter months when I take the sunshades down, because I don't need snow weighing on top of those at all.
It's same awning, matching awning.
Same one. It's the exact same one. It's just in storage right now.
The orange.
Whatever the color was originally, they have not been altered in any shape or form.
So you want to put a different awning on there?
No. The exact same awning. If you see in that picture right there,
Yeah, but-
over that other, yeah, it's the exact
Same
thing.
color.
Yep, same awning.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
And just to clarify on this, so I don't think, what we saying, you want to take the electrical box out of the, off the wall? I'm just confused about it.
No, I thought it was just, until.
Yeah,
There's no bracket left, it's just an electrical box left over.
Yeah, it is just an electrical box. There's no brackets for the mounted light anymore. It's just covers for where the electrical was. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, actually, when I took over the building, only one was operational to begin with, and so we took the broken, we fixed it together on the one side.
Okay. I think so. It started, then I'm fine with that remaining. And I am fine with the new siders that you guys painted.
Okay.
And the, sunshades, and replacing them on in winter months. That seems all fine with me as well, so, I don't have any other additional comments.
I would agree. I like your sign, really
Thank you.
nice font. We don't always
Thank you.
see that. And I think you guys have done a really nice job with the colors and the color that you painted it, the orange, all that works really well. The one thing that, and I don't even know, when you're talking about the lighter orange sails, I think it's called sail awning.
Let's say, yeah, the sun sails,
Yeah.
yeah, shades,
Is
yeah.
that permanent or is that where the other awning is going to go?
No, so right there, that, right where he's, whoever's circling, that's where the awning goes back, and then the sails come off.
Yeah, that's
Those
what I-
poles had been there before I had taken over the building,
Mhm.
and those plan to stay. And then, yeah, obviously everything once we get into the end of fall, winter months, all the patio stuff will come off, and then, you know.
I would say that's, yeah, I know now that they're coming off, but are you a sailor, a real boat?
I'm absolutely not.
When there's no wind in the sails are lufting. And
Okay.
those are all, they look like they're lufting, like they're just
Okay.
like not really full taut. But if
Yeah,
you
I've
take-
had to, I'm a bit of, most of the things that have been done to the building, I've either done it myself or,
Mhm.
you know,
But it's,
handily.
it's, if you're replacing them,
Okay.
it's good.
Yeah, I don't like any comments on any of that stuff, that, I mean, the speaker thing is always kind of a slippery, situation. We have specific requirements on High Street, which then people violate and someone complains and then they have to figure it out. It's like a
Okay.
constant chase. I don't think we have those exact same requirements here. We generally kind of apply what we do on High Street to Summit. Summit's a little weird because
Sure.
it's really a residential street that has a couple mixed use things,
Mhm.
which in one way would make it less applicable to put speakers out there. However, on the other hand, there's really limited kind of copycat options to have here, which is really what we're concerned about. It's not so much responsible owners as irresponsible owners that we're concerned about. So I think from my perspective, the fact that this has kind of been a continuous operation on an early or closing business right now, I don't feel like we have quite as specific mandate on the street as we do on High Street. So for me, I think I'm more flexible on that at this point. Any other thoughts, comments?
I guess I'll just say the speakers too, they've been there, like, so they actually haven't received complaints, so I think that's another, reasoning that maybe it could remain.
All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, COA 2500905. And I believe with any conditions.
Everything's clarified through Brad. I guess the only condition would be just that the awning be removed during, the summer.
Yeah, that should be a continuous thing that,
Okay.
with the change of the months.
You're
Yeah.
okay with that in the record?
Okay.
Shade sales be taken down in winter months and not be stopped during winter.
And vice versa, when the spring comes, the sails up and then the awning down.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed and abstained? Great, thanks a lot. Good luck. Good luck continuing what you're doing. Thank you. All right, now we're up to 705 North 6th. 705 North 6th. I have to think from this one now. So we'll get back to this.
Oh, you were. Oh,
Student.
Yeah, because they were.
And so, I don't know, it's a crazy song.
It was recent.
Oh, and I'm just-
Yes.
The mom. All right.
Commissioner Sudi has abstained from the application.
Okay, I'm just trying to find, okay, COA 25. You click on it and then the number goes away.
25009, please.
All right, can you all raise your right hand and state your name to the record?
Robert Harris,
Matt Negron.
Christian Hasenfratz.
And do you swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability this evening?
I guess.
Okay, Seth?
So this is for new construction, construct 2 new 4-story apartment buildings on the parking lot, materials to include parking lap siding, B&B to be new gray and brainstorm. Party trim to be Keystone gray and agreeable gray. General shell brick, Valhalla mist and Berkeley trail. Balcony railings, vertical picket, black powder coated. K-style aluminum scuppers, gutters, downspouts, and dark bronze. Balcony full lead glass door to be painted iron ore. And balcony light to be Pathfinder 6-inch tall LED outdoor wall sconces for the materials. Landscaping is also included with various tree, shrub, and perennial plantings per submitted landscaping plan. For staff analysis, we have included the conceptual minutes from last month's hearing. The commissioners like me to review those at this time. Applicant has revised drawings to include a pathway from the Pond Park to North Fourth Street for that feedback from last month's meeting. At September business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners asked the applicant to verify what additional screening they have included for parking facing 6th Street. Again, all of these management. Which I'll have to staff report here with materials. And then the commission requested additional detailing to be included with the proposed dumpster enclosure. And they just had some additional maybe concerning comments for proposed walkway with the dumpster enclosure. Commissioner Sudi has reached out to staff with concerns with the current site plan removal of 4th Street connector. In October 2023, Commission approved to design the interstate street connector from North 6th Street under I-670 ramp will be included in the plan. The landscape plan was presented to the commission in July of 2024 that showed the removal of the connector, which caused concerns and further discussion with ODOT, Department of Public Service, and city planning staff. The site plan was approved in October 8th, 2024 to retain the existing pavement connector, include barricades within the property lines, and remove the ODOT's portion of the property from the site plan since the plan for the I-670 ramp has not been finalized at this time. This was then further discussed on October 31st, 2024 with ODOT, Department of Public Service, city planning staff, IBC representatives, and IBS representatives. Discussion included maintaining current connection while ODOT is within the planning phase of I-670 ramp. We discussed options of making the connector a potential ingress point for Jeffrey Park neighborhood and creating a pedestrian bike tunnel under the ramp or potentially both. HBO staff reached out to traffic management recently to further understand why the change in the site plan to maintain that connection point. Or to not maintain a connection point to further I-670 ramp plan has been finalized. They never received drawings at that time after the October 31st meeting, and neither did staff at that time. So our recommendation is to approve application, COA 2500928, 75 North 6th Street. I submitted with the following conditions, that the North 6th Street connection be maintained in the site compliance plan until further discussions and decisions have been made on the future I-670 ramp as previously agreed upon. Revised site plan to be submitted to staff for final review. in approval. I apologize if I did read that too quickly, so if I need to repeat it, you know. And the basis of staff correctly standards, of new construction, 311612. And then short growth guideline, height and massing, page 3.22, 3.23. That's what.
Morgan, could you just read the couple of lines that say that you recommend approval and then what the decision is about the connector piece?
Yes, so we just, we recommend that it still be maintained until, for the final site compliance plan. We'll have further discussion and decision, has been made for the future I-670 grant. Since that has not been finalized, they will be starting, I think, public engagement with that soon, conversation. And then that revised site plan to be seen to us for final.
So we don't want to have a site plan like this one that has that connector removed.
That's,
And I think that there's others where it is still on there, but I'm not quite sure.
There's the first page now, this is still,
Okay,
yeah,
adjust.
Because the other one was showing existing condition.
And that's what Debbie put in.
Yeah, it's just that one note that says cross-that line of future pavement removal.
Yeah, I think we're able to comment from you. I don't think we have a problem removing that line on our site plan. This is just a zoning site plan.
Yeah.
And before how it was handled on our last application, it was handled through a drawing. And so the site plan in our last application that was approved looked almost identical to this with the removal of that approximate line of future pavement. The city only requested us to identify that that needed to be removed in our drawing. So we'll take that comment out. That's not a problem. And
so, but that plan said, the city did ask that, who asked you to put that note in your plan submittal?
I think this is just,
There's an traffic in the beginning,
But they're saying they never reviewed plans from you.
where they have, is that with Dave Perry, our zoning council?
we received pretty much all approvals for our last application. So I'm not sure.
I talked to Dan, Blanchett about this recently, and he spoke to Ronaldo. They never received, based off our conversation on October 1st, never received, a site plan based off that conversation.
I don't think.
Of what was agreed. And again, that was just the conversation I had on.
The last month's meeting, we actually gave you the name of the person, Commissioner Traffic.
Yeah, and that was,
And we met with them, and it was Dave Perry, our zoning council, who used to be the city voter. Yes, he did, and that's why he said, put that where it's on now. But we had no problem with taking the word.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
Yeah,
low
but
hanging
it
fruit.
feels like at this point, this one doesn't have teeth. The one they already got submitted and approved is the one they'll be following from a,
Which was removing from the drawing. The drawing plan is the only thing that committed us to remove any sort of pavement.
okay,
And the pavement discussion was handled through a meeting with Jason,
Right.
myself, Dave,
Yeah.
Ronaldo, and Dan. And that was handled on our previous application. This application at hand, and that was when we had 206,
right,
a 333 space garage.
yes.
This-
Those are designs. Since then.
Yeah.
Since then, the discussion was, we revised our drawing plan on the last plan, which removed that pavement. We still have to submit a drawing plan, an
Okay.
updated drawing plan for this one.
so it'll.
And the expectation, it will be that we keep the pavement access.
Perfect.
And our preference is actually to improve the pavement, but that's a.
Yeah. Cause yeah, I feel like you guys don't
We're not
want
just
to
gonna leave
work
it. We're
outside
not
of
gonna,
your, you don't.
Yeah.
Like we're boxing you.
and two, if it's gonna say, we'd like it to.
Yeah.
Look the way that it.
Okay, sorry about all that confusion.
Yep.
But perfect. So revise this specific
Yeah,
drawing.
that
for
can
that.
be. taken.
Sorry, I know we typically don't work through things in this manner, but.
The final piece for, yeah.
Are there any other comments outside of this specific issue?
About things like the landscaping.
The landscaping, yeah.
I'll go with the landscaping. It looks very nice. The one thing that I would like you to do, Christian, because I looked at the plans that you selected and it's a really nice list and I saw the two elevations. But I didn't go through every single shrub and small piece that was on there. But I'm just wondering, one thing that I always want to make sure that is taken into consideration is that there's at least a third of evergreens throughout the planting. Learn that from me. But, yeah, so that if, you know, without looking at every single one. And then the other question that I had is we all really like that, kind of outdoor, gathering patio spot that you had between the two buildings.
Mhm.
Where do I find that on the drawings? I see it, is that the best one to look at for that?
Yeah,
Because before it was just kind of a circle, you know, some little arcs and things that were on there just to represent that something was going to be there.
yeah,
Um,
our landscape sheet, LO.3 has the landscape plan that maybe shows that with a little bit more clarity.
So our original design had that
Keep on
space,
going.
that
Yeah.
space was a little bit wider, but since this application has gone along.
Keep going down one more.
keep it.
Yes, that one right there. That's at the top of the top left of the page. That's that connector piece right there.
and do you have benches and places for people to be able to sit out there and enjoy it?
One of the things, they're not currently shown, but one thing that we were considering was maybe going more of a stone slab bench to kind of match a little bit more what's happening in the park across the street.
I mean, I love those as a look, but I just think there are so few places. I know there's a park across the way,
Mhm,
right?
right.
Where maybe people could go sit. But it just seems like, you know, there's a lot of parking and, you know, some green space, but not much and not really within this building complex. And I don't see something I
Well, we
can't.
did shrink the size of that, and that was due to getting more landscaping along Warren.
Mhm.
So if you remember, we had those buildings
Right.
pretty close. And so we had a lot more space to work with, but we moved those back, added some landscaping along the streetscape, which kind of shrunk our space down for that.
Yeah, there's a pretty big park right just to the like east, so that's probably okay, but I was just making sure that, you know, that kind of thing would be provided for the residents, whether it's in the park or their big slabs to sit on are fine, but it's not like, you know, you're not gonna read a book on one of those.
Correct. And I think the thinking there was like that space is, if, since it literally is across the street, you'd probably rather go hang out in the park than just wait between the buildings. But I think making that space as nice as it can be, especially if you were just like waiting for an Uber or something, like, you know, we want that to feel like a little garden kind of space between each of those, each of the north and south building.
Paige, do you have anything from, thanks for working with us on this one. I know we've been round and round. So I think it looks great, and I think that, coloring of the exterior would be a nice add to this, area.
I think I
Feels
can see that,
comfortable. Yeah.
it looks great.
Um,
See, this is why I let you make the final decision.
So yeah, I think the only other thing staff had mentioned was the dumpster closure.
Yes.
Um, If there's any clarifications on, that, what will be including the dumpsters,
Put them-
the dumpster enclosure?
Oh, that's on the sheet, scroll down, going down.
I might have missed it.
I can show you on it.
Sure.
It's all three-sided brick, all brick, and then
Oh.
8 foot high, on three sides, with 2 gates. And that should be on there, I'll find it.
Is it on the landscaping plan?
Probably would be.
Here, they put it on this page. But, you
Oh,
find this,
oh,
Yeah.
and here's the width, and
yeah, no, it just didn't like,
those are not showing up on them.
I think the image might just sound cheap. It's it like is slowly.
Oh.
This one.
No, it's down a little.
Down.
Down.
Yes, you were on the page.
You're on the page.
Yes, so
It's just not loaded.
They're right here.
that's really funny.
We have it.
Oh, you do have it?
Yeah.
Using?
No, that's,
That's
No,
not
that's the
it.
building. It's
No, with the dumpster thing, for some reason it's not coming up with the screen.
Yeah, we
Yeah, so that's
please show us that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's just, it's just. If the commission's fine with that.
Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was gonna say. Yeah, right.
Oh, your whole packet, that's fine.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah, A1.3.
Typically don't extend, but it looks like there's just been a here glitch with the drawing or something. This is.
Sometimes when you say.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, that's on. No other comments from this. Okay. All right. Sounds like we are out of comments.
Thank you for all the previous comment.
Do I have a motion for this? Or I can motion to approve the COA 25-00928. Completely. Either. I think that one for
Taking out the removal of pavement comment on that plan. And so if this is approved, is that just handled through staff?
yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can do that.
And actually, real quick for a second, just to make sure that this is new for us, new staff, is the gate material included in this?
We can specify what it is, the same we did it, when we did
Here.
our office building, it's PVC, through body color charcoal,
I think I remember that.
yeah.
So if you don't mind. just-
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you tell Jason, this is my name.
Thank you.
This is you.
Seating.
Like that.
You're on to consent applications for this evening.
Okay, oops.
Whatever commissioners need.
Get back. Uh, Okay, so we are at 935 Mount Pleasant?
Yes.
All right, 935 Mount Pleasant.
Truly's I've been her escape or rang, so, I'm sure she'll be back momentarily.
Do you want to hold off for a second then?
You guys want to do a bathroom break?
If needed.
Okay.
I led the other conceptual that we will be coming.
Sure.
This is 935 Mount Pleasant, COA 25008. Will you each please raise your right hand and state your names for the
Daryl Panner.
Julie Bullock.
and you promise to tell the truth in your testimony this evening to the best of your ability.
That's you.
Excellent. Okay, so we will go to staff and then we'll see. And this is considered.
Yes. This is conceptual. So this is for new construction, constructing new two-story single-family residence and two-story carriage house, single-family home material to include brick, limestone sills, lintels, water table with asphalt shingles from the approved list. Proposed carriage house siding to be hardwood. And this is also for variance recommendation, 3332-039, R4 residential district to allow for 2 single-family residences on a single lot in R4 district. 3332.15, R4 area district requirements requires a single unit dwelling or principal building to be situated on lots of no less than 5,000 square feet in the area. The family is the parcel of a lot that measures 5,322 square feet. This includes fronting, variance for fronting, variance for maximum side yard required, and rear yard for that as well. And then staff analysis, applicant reached out to staff in June of 2023 for 943 Mount Pleasant Avenue. They proposed a lot split for 943 Mount Pleasant Avenue, the planned building structure and the vacant property to the south. So this was previously approved. Staff informed the owner that according to the 1922 Sanborn maps. According to the 1922 Sanborn maps, the property to the south of 943 Mount Pleasant appeared to have had a 1.5-story dwelling. And it would be appropriate, and we said it would be appropriate to propose the lot split, the evidence. Owner addition asked staff their recommendation of structure to be built on property, if they would need to propose a single family such as the homes north of the property and across the street, or the double unit structures to the south that are still currently there. Staff recommended that since the past structure appeared to be a single family dwelling, that proposing a single family dwelling would be appropriate. Staff recommended owner come conceptually with a design that complements the existing historic residential building along the street. At the September business meeting, commissioners made the following statement and recommendations. They had some concern of the fireplace. We'll get to that drawing. Fireplace location on the rear porch and the proposed height with smoke and use is a concern. The commission was curious if there was a difference in variance wording for ADU structure, and a 2 single family dwelling, and what would be more beneficial for the site. They asked for the applicant to clarify the porch detailing between porch fascia and columns. They requested the applicant to add a dimension between the garage and the rear porch. The applicant to include how trash will be working on the site since there will be 2 dwellings. They stated the window and eave portions in the carriage house appear a little off. In the elevations, and they asked if the carriage house were to be an ADU, is there a possibility of having a walkway from the main street to the ADU structure? So since this is a conceptual, the commissioner just offer sign feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to future or further refine the proposal. So no action is required at this time.
Okay, great. So, over to you.
I might just wanna, I don't know what you guys have discussed about this. My understanding is the code on ADUs is changing in October. I don't know if you're, so if that happens, I'll just say a lot of these variances are gonna go away. And I believe 65% lot coverage should be presented, but I haven't heard what happens with rear yard. I know there won't be a required parking for the ADU, but we already have that anyways, you know, 1 per unit. So I'm not anticipating a substantial change in scale, even with the new requirements. Because this is not a lot of record, we might still need the variances for lot width and things like that.
Yeah.
Even though the lot width was approved. I mean, to me, it's a little bit of a gray area with the city because they approved the lot split. Should we now have to go back for a variance on lot width? I don't know. But anyways, just wanted to clarify that. So this is basically per the directive that my client received, is come back with some conceptual kind of plans and elevations to get some feedback. That's really where we're at. You know, we really haven't dived into a lot of the details. For instance, the question on the fireplace. It's going to have gas logs. Basically, the manufacturer has a certain height that they require above the firebox. We haven't picked it out yet. But certainly, you know, we would want it to work for him. And we wouldn't want it to be obtrusive either. So I don't know if that answers that question. You know, the variance wording with the ADU and all that, who knows what we're gonna be doing. The porch detailing between the fascia and the end columns, I think it shows a little bit on the pictures we submitted. Could either be wood, could also be metal. I'm just not sure we're there yet. The intention of the house was to present some contemporary detailing with some traditional detailing as well, you know, in terms like the scale of the windows being traditional in scale, but maybe some of the details are a little more contemporary. This street has a lot of really nice, big, beautiful traditional buildings. So, you know, we wanted to blend in, but at the same time, we're not trying to copy an old building. It looks like I missed some brick on a column there, but yeah, there would be there. We did add a dimension between the two buildings. Trash pickup is just going to be trash cans in the garage that are pulled out to the alley. I believe this is an area where they just have the city requires 1 90-gallon trash can per unit, so they're like 30 inches by 30 inches. Yeah, but I would like some input on the eave and window proportions. Here a little off, you know, just some feedback, because I'm not sure exactly what the concern was, so some clarification there, but really just looking for feedback on the scale and maybe some of the materials and the look, just to see, you know, before we start really diving into this, make sure we're on track. Yeah, that's what's our attention.
Let me just frame up the issues with or lack of issues with the lot from my perspective, and then we can move on to the architecture. Yeah, I think these are really typical variances that you're requesting. They're the weird shaped lot. It just makes them different. Yeah, I don't think there's any problem. So from my perspective, I don't see why there would be any issue with that. And then the zoning changes to allow you to avoid those, and it's even better for you. I don't know if anybody, the commission has any concerns about the lot itself, the variances, setbacks, or coverage.
I especially like that you did a streetscape drawing. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Well, you guys usually require it. I mean, I told him, I said, it's normally Ben Goodman who's always required a streetscape. Yeah. Well, anyhow, it's so helpful because. Well, it's helpful for me. Yeah. Because, you know, and for my client to kind of see how the house fits in.
And so then you look at the streetscape drawing and you see this is a typical spacing for most of those houses. And so there's no, for me, no issue really with that. I do wonder, it feels a bit tight in the back with the ADU, but that could be very standard, and I'm just not really familiar how tight things get back there, but, you know, so that may be something that Morgan can help you with, if this feels within the realm of what has been done before, or as these are being done. But that's my comment about the site plan. I had a couple of things about the architecture.
Anybody else have any site plan comments?
No, I would comment the 3-foot setback is pretty typical that I do. We do have, what I think is a little unusual here is we have a kind of a ginormous building behind us. So the intention was to give them some privacy. I actually did a little bit of a light study and really, with what height we made the carriage house and things like that, you have to be standing on a chair in the top windows to look into their yard. So that was the intention of the carriage house. Idea was first just to give them some privacy, and then we're like, well, we're gonna have the height, we should put some space up there, so.
All right, sounds good. Let's go into architecture.
Why did you show us those 2 houses that are on the site plan drawing? Are they precedent?
That's kind of houses he likes. That's what
Okay.
he gave me when he said, you know, I always ask my clients, give me ideas of what you like and just like his wife liked them. But you can see the porch detail there, the columns on the left one.
They're more contemporary.
Yeah, they are more contemporary than what we have for sure. But I also think the idea of the casement windows is something we pulled from that. I think they're thinking this color, am I correct? This palette,
Yeah, and maybe I'll jump in, really wanted to just get something in front of you guys to get initial feedback. Probably more on maybe the modest side, but tended not to kind of rock the boat initially. But we do want to build something, really iconic in Italian Village, something that, all the residents can be proud of, ourselves, myself, my wife can be proud of. Really something that obviously blends in, but at the same time is, iconic and something that.
So by iconic, you mean that it has a presence that,
Yeah.
that is more than just exactly like every other
Yeah.
house.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think we talked, he doesn't want it to be a copy of what's already there.
And
Yeah, I think
Maybe-
that's,
maybe working in close collaboration with the commission. And obviously not pushing things too much, but, trying to,
Yeah.
build something amazing.
Well, I think, I really like the two precedents because they have a certain classic kind of beginning to them, but then there's things about them that would become a little bit mannerist or something, and then, so those things in my mind become a little bit more, I would use the word iconic. Because I think, the overall design of the house and the facades is really nice, but I just kind of, my sense is when I looked at it and I saw where you left off the brick on that one, I was like, there's something white on it. It's not just,
no, that's good. We weren't sure how far to take it on the street. I wasn't sure how much the traditional character of the street.
it's a beautiful street.
It is.
It
It
is
is.
fantastic. I love this street.
So that's really the kind of feedback I love to hear because I
think you can always go a little bit more, a little contemporary, and I
Yeah.
think these two precedent images are the length you want to go. Like, I don't think we're looking for something on the other side of Fourth where we've got those
yeah.
industrial,
Mhm.
but this
Sure.
is a nice in between because you don't want to copy a historic structure
Right.
when it's new.
And I think
That's helpful.
my wife likes the real big windows.
Yes.
A lot of natural light.
That was my next comment, my little list is that more or bigger windows, I think, light is so, incredible to an interior space and the look of the facade, so I agree with that one. Let me see.
And I think, the street does have quite a bit of uniformity, like maybe aside from the ends. So, curious as to, how conforming you guys would like things to be, how much, we could maybe push the bound a little bit.
I think that pushing the bounds in the direction of these precedent images you provided is probably the direction you want to go. You want to stay away from something stark and industrial.
Sure.
Got it.
Because they're just not precedent on the street. Like, we do that for new construction, but we do it when we're in the more industrial side. This is like our one street that looks like.
I know.
this. And so,
It does.
yeah, it's like the only, it was our only ticky-tacky development of the 1800s, potentially, our little street of that. Which now looks very nice to all of us, but I mean, that's why you see that uniformity, right? It was,
That's good. Oh, that's good to hear. How do you feel about the painted brick idea versus? Okay.
I love painted.
Sounds new construction.
Yeah.
I just think you can never make it look old, so why?
right.
Not painting historic buildings.
Yes, of course.
I'd love to do that. Asia,
Yeah, as far as like, the president images that you provided, I agree that they're very appropriate as far as keeping the traditional elements, but adding some modern elements in there. I think some of the things we could pull from are, the fact that those windows, kind of how you were mentioning, have similar proportions to the historic windows, but are more like elongated, giving it that more modern look, taking it down to floor level. I think is very nice, as well as the ones that are added that, the very thin, gives it a more modern look, but still having that detail there gives, some depth to the facade, which I think is nice. So I think, kind of like you mentioned, keeping some of those proportions, of the more traditional nature, but then using some of the materials too that are a little bit more modern with those black trim windows and thinner profiling, I would find appropriate. And just as a overall note for new builds, I think the commission agrees that it's nice that with, you're not trying to create a building that to trick people into thinking it was a historic home. It's very much that people know this is a new build in the historic area, but it fits in with the streetscape. So totally fine with it feeling like a new build, and that's preferable.
I just wanted to say one thing, Morgan, if you could just scroll down, so can we see, no, I'm sorry, scroll up. I was trying to get the precedent in that, but what the difference is with the precedent is the percentage of this brick facade and the percentage of window.
Yeah, it's much
That,
narrower.
yeah, the window's much
I'm
brighter,
thinking maybe we need another band.
yeah.
Any feedback on like the flat roof style as opposed to kind of, what seems to be more traditional on the street?
I mean, I think what you've shown there, the nice thing about the precedent images again, is that even on the left one, that probably has some kind of flat portion behind it, it's almost like,
Can you zoom?
Yeah.
it's almost like a nod to a traditional mansard style roof.
Yeah,
So I don't think I would want, just a complete flat roof where you're seeing, just a parapet with nothing behind it. But that one mocks, or not mocks, that's not the right word. It emulates a mansard, and then of course the other one just has that smaller section on top, which is fine. That's my take, that's my non-architect take.
No. that was a very, very good.
And your second,
It's heavier.
and gives you higher ceilings on your second.
Okay.
floor from an external standpoint. which you know that.
The staff will know that there are a lot of single roofs on the street too.
We were talking that you might want to add some dormers,
Yeah.
so.
Just with having that, just to know.
Yeah, that's true.
What about the carriage house comment? The overhang, I wasn't sure what,
Oh,
I don't know.
That's Commissioner Brody.
It does seem like it's stated that the windows are tucked up a little high into the,
Okay,
I think though,
okay.
to be honest with you, I think if you're gonna start thinking about different opportunities up front, you may think of
It'll-
different
yeah.
background. It's worth spending a lot of time on.
Yeah, I wondered if this could go a little more contemporary too. I felt like maybe it could be, I don't want to say flat roof, but.
It could be.
You
I
know,
mean, there's a possibility for that.
It
Just
seems
around
like-
some of the other ones that
yeah,
are.
seemed a little too traditional to me right now, but
And maybe
Yeah.
the back porch doesn't just become a typical 4-inch space, thickets or something like that, but maybe it becomes a continuous band or something that
oh,
is
yeah,
going
we did
to
it.
not be quite as traditional.
I know my wife was throwing out some suggestions of, a lot of, big windows in the back as well too. A lot of glass.
So like,
Yeah, why
you know, you're not having to follow this.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think we need more windows.
Yeah.
Like, more.
Yeah, definitely loving that style.
Yeah, and there's really, I mean, the back, there are garages along the back alley, which is a very nice alley. It's a very fancy alley. It's
It is.
the fanciest of the alley.
It is.
Yeah.
We're moving into a very nice alley. This is where
But he lives right up the street, so.
it was first made, maybe we used to call it the Taj Mahal. Okay.
Wow.
There's really not much else on the street other than, on your side,
Yeah,
other than typical frame
Yeah.
garages, so.
they're a little taller built than traditional.
Yeah, I don't think, I think you have some flexibility back there, especially with the large scale mixed use building directly across the.
Yeah, I think it's probably an alley prime for ADUs, especially if this new code passes.
I mean, it feels like one of the better front door areas on an alley in our village, since you have the flush mounted curbs and
Yeah,
recycle.
yeah, we don't have to deal with this whole issue.
It's actually pretty nice front door.
And I believe they just switched the trash can style.
Out away from their big one.
Yeah.
They're doing that for,
Yeah,
yeah,
they did that in Victorian Village.
yeah. Yeah, they're trying to move away from those. Moves are hard to.
So one thing I would just in your head think about, I guess your garage, the lower level of your ADU is gonna be a shared space. The garage is like either tenant of either building can access. I mean, for you all, if you're gonna live in Athens, I assume it's like more of an in-law suite situation, but
Yeah.
like, I would just think about your trash for the long haul of like, if for every reason that it is two separate
Yeah.
renters or whatever it is, like, you know, there is that shared situation.
Okay.
So if 4 trash cans are basically gonna have to go into that garage. So maybe plan out for that.
Yeah.
So that it's like kind of there for the long haul and not just thinking about a single family, not structures.
Got it.
Okay, any
Was
other?
that part of the suggestion around like the walkway from the front to the back? Was that?
We just haven't really got to, haven't got there. I was, we were talking about land.
I think I was the one that said the walkway. That's really just, making sure that it's possible in the future, which I believe you guys do have the.
Me too.
So, it's just something that we'll be looking out for as more ADUs, come, is making sure that they have a path to their street front as well. So as long as there's the space there, it's just something I want to know. You don't have to actually have a physical path.
Got it. Got it.
All right, thanks for coming in. Look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Yeah.
We don't even need to make any action because it's conceptual, so.
I'm just, you don't have any information on timing on that? I just thought I'd ask. Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep.
it's not
Keep up on-
scheduled yet. I keep checking.
So this isn't a 30 yet, it's kind of proposed.
Large scale, yeah, it's a large scale.
Yeah.
Basically, they're redoing the entire form zone. They're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
This is a thing that might be in the next part that's.
We just don't know
Got it.
timing wise when.
Has to be approved by council.
Yeah.
So there's a.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say with the ADUs, they're including, they're trying to do the corridor density at the same time.
So that'll push it back.
You might end up having to do these variances,
Yeah.
but like, I will say, I think this commission has always been one that's supportive of ADUs, so like, we're not,
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go.
yeah,
They've been approached.
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I think.
All right.
Yeah, so much.
Thanks a lot.
I told them I would let them know. The last person show? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, if you don't mind.
Oh, we're done.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Close.
Very close. Still kind of right at, starting kind of early.
Not too bad.
It's freezing in here. I'm not used to being cold.
Hello, if you take a seat over here, we'll be sworn in.
Right here.
Over here, right here, perfect. Thanks. And then, so if you can raise your right hand, just put names for the record,
T. Johnson. Edward Kavanaugh.
and you both promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening.
Yes, sir.
I do. Okay, we'll use staff and we'll be over to you, so.
So this is conceptual as well. Proposed
Oh, yeah, can you read the application number?
Yeah, of course. This is COA 25-00861 from 90 East Lincoln Street. Proposed work description is for demolition of the proposing to remove the existing 2-story front porch roof and discuss what would be appropriate to construct in its place. So, at the September business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners present would be in support of a single-story porch, but the applicant maybe need to consider converting the second-story door into a window. They recommended applicant look at porches around the neighborhood for design and material examples, as well as to see if there are any examples of walkout porches. Recommended considering using a material to possibly cover over the existing CMU porch here. Noted that if the applicant proposing a demolition, the standard is for them to supply the design along with demolition when coming for next conceptual request for action application for the demo to be approved. The commission recommended HPS staff to set up a site visit as well. What we can do just to kind of see if there's any like ghosting marks on the building, of what was maybe previously there. Staff note, according to Sanborn maps, it appears that there was a single-story porch on the same elevation.
It would have been a big 2-story porch with like a deck or patio. or-
Probably a sleeping porch.
Potentially, yeah, so there was, one story in 1901. They're going to, and it can be seen in 1921, and then it looks like it was converted to 2-story around probably, between 1920 and 1950. It's what we see there right now. So, Since this is conceptual, this is just for, sign feedback from the commission, that the applicants can, further refine it. in future SCP.
All right, sounds good. Well, tell us what's going on.
So it's a client of ours. We're doing, we're roofing project for her. I've been involved with this process on numerous occasions. I've been in the industry for 16 years, so I just don't think she knew exactly how to handle some of the verbiage or wording or talking to you guys and handling whatever the future, outcome of this is. And so we decided to just lead it. To be fair with you, I don't know if we're even gonna do the demolition for her, on the side of work or the repairs. We probably would do the repairs, but she wants the structure off completely. She doesn't like it. I told her, I said, hey, it's all gonna be about historical data with you guys, like, and if this thing, in the past, if this thing's been on there for a tenured amount of time, or if it's been, on there since the 70s, and more specifically, if there's any historical, if you guys think it devalues the historic value of the property. My personal opinion is there's not a ton of, 3-pillar, structures off the front of these homes. I think that in my viewing of it, I would say, it's obviously opinionated, but if it were to be removed, that it's going to look more of a historical value with it removed than it popping off the front like 12 feet.
So there's 3 doors. Are there actually 3 units?
I don't think so. It's a weird, I'm not versed on the home in any way, shape, or form. It's a weird structure in itself. I think probably somebody went at some point tried to split it up into multi-units, and I don't think it's that way anymore.
I think it was originally probably 3 units in there.
Well, maybe it was converted. It looks like it was 2 separate dwellings, and then it was turned into apartments in between 1920 and 1950.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Things occur.
Can we see the one above this, above the standalone rooms?
So from a historic perspective, and Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically in a structure like this, with that door, that second floor door, what would have been there is a 1st-story porch, like a sleeping porch, right? It's like the summer sleeping spot with some type of canopy. That probably was barely recorded because.
Potentially.
Yeah.
From what minimal we can see from these photos right now, there does seem to be some brick patching, so it's potential that there was maybe a window there.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah, but it's either or for those options.
In my opinion, like if we're looking at like what the solution would be after removal, is you could just take it off and be done. I honestly wouldn't, I don't know if staff would be upset with that, but I don't think this structure is additive right now to the historic value.
I think they have to like rebuild whatever that gutter system was
Yeah.
at the proper need.
For sure.
It's almost like they took it off and shoved it forward, so it's like taking that and putting it back where it was in the
Yeah.
first place.
And I'll be surprised to see what the facing of it is behind that, right?
Yeah.
Like how they structurally tied that in. That's all like, I told her, I was like, we could run into, one thing is for sure, because it's not inset, right? So they didn't peel brick away and then put it into it. So I think it's like directly on that, and on the facing of the brick.
Yeah.
It was quite an idea.
Yeah, except now it's coming to the ground.
Somebody's spent a lot of money in order to get this 2-story thing.
Well, she's hyper worried right now about this winter because there's open wounds all over it, right?
Yeah, no,
So like if ice or snow gets in there, like that thing could come tumbling
Age
down. Yeah.
For sure. It's definitely, I don't see where the historical value of it is at all. It's really just what happens next. So
What's the age of this?
This building, is pre-1900 for the construction. I don't have the exact date when the building was. For the porch itself, it probably was put in maybe around between 1921, 1950. I would even say like 1940s was when it was probably installed. That was typical for like an neoclassic.
If you go to this, can you zoom out? You don't see a whole lot, but I think anytime you have
two-story columns like that, that are so thin and so far apart. It's just not pleasant to look at all. I think the idea of a sleeping porch could be really wonderful, you know, as a part of this, because then you're gonna get a completely different facade. The three doors are quite strange. And I think, you know, like that one that you showed us when it was apartments. So going back to what the two doors would have been would be a really nice thing. But if you had like a sleeping porch at the top and you fill that in and probably add more columns, it's gonna totally be a different structure than what it is now. Plus, you're gonna have some extra room. But have you thought about going to an architect and?
Yeah, we went down that path, because I told her, I said, I've seen the pros and the cons of doing this, so we already had preparation if this gets denied to what the next course of action would be. In the grand scheme, just for, we briefly discussed it, so she wants the outcome to be, there's no gray area with this, she wants the outcome to be removal, and then see what she could do with the structure after that.
And I will say this is conceptual, so this is just gonna be a general conversation.
Yeah.
Forward, so this will be no action.
No,
So,
yeah.
Just so you're, the clients
Yeah.
as well.
Here tomorrow. Get the truck out.
I think the one thing that would be worth just looking at talking more about staff with you when you get out there on the site visit, is there are all these different widths of openings, and it does look, and it's hard, it's impossible to see here, which are actually historic plinths and lintels and doors and stoops, and which are not, even, because some of them look exactly the same, and I'm like, did they really build this house with one window being like 1.5 times the other one?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. So I guess my take would be kind of similar,
You
like,
see that aesthetic design though they put in the stone?
Yeah.
And then look to the right of that on the other one.
well, that one seems like it's scabbed in. But
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably the new one, but then it's weird that like this window has all the aesthetics and it's really like one half as wide as the other one.
Yeah.
It's weird. And so
Yeah.
I guess my point is your advantage is that it's weird because we can't look at this and be like, well, we know exactly what this was like historically.
Yeah.
So my initial take is kind of what Shannon's thought is, I think that if you came in with an architectural drawings that showed replacement of the eave, and ideally with these box gutters, it looks like they still exist on the original house, but just reinstalled against where the eave would be.
Yeah.
And removed everything else, and it might be okay to just do that. I think it would also be worth some, like a next step interim, that's not necessarily building a whole new porch, but like, is there an opportunity to maybe take out that one door or something? It's still gonna look like it's patched because you're never gonna get the exact right things. I don't know what the answer is. I will say though, the fact that it's just kind of funky and chopped up is, like I said, to your advantage. The biggest concern I have is just getting the front of the top to look the way it used to be in 1920, whatever,
Yeah.
if you can.
The back of the house is so beautiful too. There's like a little mother-in-law suite in it on the back of it, and then the front is just like,
Yeah.
to be fair, the front is hideous, so.
I just think it's gonna always look chopped up and not very attractive. If you take off that front porch, what are you doing? You're showing the front, you're showing the facade even more. I think it needs to, in my opinion, I would add something to it, either a sleeping porch or, that there's a lower level that you add to it, and then it becomes an upper level porch, second story porch, but
Well, I
it's
think-
hard to make that look good.
I think the other question for you is, do you just keep that exact concrete pad with those concrete block? Or is that something else? I mean, I know it's another big
Yeah.
expense, but is that something that the owner would also want to reduce or remove or something in order for it to have a different base? Now, I'm not saying that necessarily we're going to suggest you have to do that, but again, I think it's part of a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
Almost all of that side is screwed up in some way at this point.
For sure. I think realistically, I think if you took if you removed it, and see the woodwork on the gables there, like an aesthetic design, like in that same fashion, and then do a half round gutter right there, I think it would peel your eye away from the front porch, everything. It would go more, above eye level. And then you would get, that would kind of instate it back to original, I think, historical value to an extent. You don't know what's gonna happen if you tear that off and see what you're gonna get into.
I think one thing that definitely would be nice if you could bring up to the owner if we didn't necessarily have those random kind of screen doors on everything. Things when you.
Yeah, I agree that removal of the porch seems appropriate with the time that was added and everything. And that the big thing as far as removing that would be, one, the eave, and then two, it looks to me that that porch is like above 30 inches high, potentially. So when we remove that, porch, what's gonna happen for the railing would be basically the eave and then a railing is what we would need to see, to, I think, approve a demolition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the railings attached to the, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So those would kind of be the two items needed for demolition as far as what happened with the eave and what's happening with the railing, if that's all that's happening. But I would agree that, maybe a single story top porch or, we'd be very open to seeing something additional there, if it's redoing that base or adding a single story porch there. Open to seeing, an addition like that as well.
Have you guys ever been to Charleston?
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah, I lived down there for.
so you know the piazzas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and not that you would necessarily do something as traditional as this, but that, you know, done in a more contemporary manner or something.
You know,
Big difference.
Maybe it's living porches all of a sudden.
I love sleeping porches. It's my dream town.
I'm forcing this on you.
And I would be sleeping on my balcony right now if it wasn't for the spotted lanternfly.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so do you have enough information from us to go back?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
We'll try to fulfill it for you, and like I said, I know where she's just headstrong on that. She's like, hey, I want it removed, and then we'll make it look pretty afterwards, and it's like,
I hear you.
this is not how this thing goes, like, you know.
Yeah.
She legit thought like, this like pull the truck up.
Right, rip it off.
Rip it off.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
City.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, will you have anything else on the agenda today?
No.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed, and we are adjourned. Thank you, staff, as always, great job.
Thank you, Jason.
And you get out to work. Did we clear the docket on the conceptuals? Oh, no, we continued.
Yeah, we continue to sign it. Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
good.
much
How does
everything.
that, you guys approve my club?
Yes.
Yeah, we messed up, that's right, I was like, you were.
They are finally starting work on the.
And then very long, and you said, Heather said that my stuff. And you stopped?
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean.
Thank you.
It's in like, yeah.
Track you down.
Surgery, I mean, honestly, I don't know, I truly don't.
I'm guilty of the same.
What's his?
Bernard, he's a graduate student, has a, master's in landscape architecture and a master's in planning.